Hello, this is going to be the start of my C++ tutorials, and right now we're just going to do a hello world program, and it's going to be sweet. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, so I'm in Coblox IDE, which is one of my favorite IDEs. Basically, I created a new empty project, and added main.cpp file to it. And now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a preprocessor command, which is defined by the pound or number sign or whatever, and this one's going to be include. And include's basically just going to include, it's going to copy and paste a header file right where the include is, whatever the header file's name is. And this is just a way of making things less cluttered. You could write everything in the main program, but including header files and stuff is just a way to separate your program. I'll get into that later. And basically, we're including IOStream, 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 and this is an input-output library. Basically, it allows you to get input from the user and output data to the console, and it's pretty easy and useful. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make a function, and this is the main C++ function, or main C function, I guess you could say. And basically, it's gonna be where everything is executed. Int main, and we'll go over. Oops, did not mean to do that. I'm sorry. We'll go over this in a second. This is the return value, which is the function is going to return an integer, which I'll get into types more later. This is the name of the function, and these are the parameters. And people put, like, I forget what it is, but it's like it's like char blah blah blah. They put that in to get the console input or whatever it is. I only used to do that with SDL because you needed it, or Qt I'd use it, but it's already like there for you, so I never really remember what it is, but it's not needed. The parameter is what the function will take. Anything here will live in between here, and then it'll die because it'll go outside scope. Scope is in between the two brackets. That's inside the function, and everything has a scope. Outside here, this is global scope. This is a local scope. It's local to main. So once main's done, everything inside of main will die, unless it's allocated on the heap, but I'll get into that later. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, return 0, because we need to return the value here, which is an integer. 0 represents a success, and -1 represents a fail or like an error in how this is gonna work. So when you go into error checking, you can return -1, and it'll return it as an error. And now is what we're gonna do is we're gonna call the cout command, which is gonna be std because it's in the standard template directory library. I think that's what it stands for. Standard template, and then cout right here. And then so cout's just a O stream, which is an out stream. It's just a variable that's already been made inside the class, and this is an operator. This operator allows us to output pretty much whatever we want. It has to be a basic C++ type. So I'm going to output a string, and the string is going to be hello world with an exclamation point, because we are just awesome. Now I'm gonna go over this real quick before we run it. Basically, this is a namespace. This just std is a namespace. This is a scope operator right here, which basically accesses in between the curly braces, and the namespace would just be like if I wanted to include main in a namespace, namespace main, and then I put it in between the curly braces, and usually because I'm a freak about this stuff, I would have it indented. Yeah, but now to access main, we'd have to go main, see? And so now main is, but it can't, I don't think it can work. I've never tried it, but I don't think it can, because C++ has to find this function. And so that's that. And basically now an easier shortcut to doing this scope operating thing is to go using namespace std, which basically allows us, if we want, to get rid of this and this. It pretty much puts the namespace in the global namespace, so that you don't really have to use it. Although this 100% I'm not going to recommend. I never use it ever, because it kind of defeats the purpose of using namespaces in the first place, which is not to overwrite variables, not to, you know, rename things the same, and it just makes it a whole lot easier to debug if you have your namespaces. If you have your namespaces, and you can use using namespace, it's good to use in CPP files, that's fine, but if you use it in a header file, it's not, you shouldn't do that. And don't use all your namespaces, because that 100% defeats the purpose. But it's a good shortcut if you have a namespace you're going to be using a ton, I guess. Yeah, now I'm going to run it real quick. Okay, now basically this is hello world printed out and return 0, which is good because we want it to return 0. And so I can press any key to continue. I press my key, it exits. And some people with their IDE, they're going to have to use this command called system pause, which pauses their thing. If your little black console just flashes, you might have to use that, because some IDEs don't automatically pause it for you, or some compilers, I should say. So that's that. And another thing is, this can also output a variable, so let's just get into real quickly, I'll do this super quick, what this is and this. Okay, this is a little bit advanced, but we'll basically say a char is a character. A character can go from 0 to 255. Basically it's one of these right here, and one of these letters. And now what we need to do is create a pointer to them, and C++ already creates the automatic array for us. So we're just going to go string equals hello world, and now basically we are going to output our string variable. And this, I'll get into how this works later, but yeah, one second. As you see, this works because you can outprint any C++ type, and basically how this worked was we created a pointer to chars, and basically C++ creates the array for us. Another way we could have done this is we could have created an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. We could have created a string with 11 like that. Or, yeah. And so that's another way we could have done it. And you can output numbers, and you could output 6, 5, whatever. And I'll get more into how this stuff works later. And I'm gonna, for these tutorials, I'm gonna go and do stuff in a lot of detail, and because it'll help you guys learn it. And then, alright, see you next time.